You clicked on this second video. You get it, don't you? You see the possibilities here. So I hope you're getting as stoked and excited about this as I am. You know, we have something else in common. As artists, we're kindred spirits of sorts. Now, artistic people typically, no wait, maybe that's not the right word. We don't do anything the typical way, do we? I sure know I never have. Ever. And you know, I'm stubbornly proud of that. I've always done things my way. I just always have. Now, doing that for so long can make a person spoiled. You kind of learn that you can pretty much always call the shots. Take how it's affected this business, for example. How much do you charge? I get asked that all the time. Well, when you're the only person within hundreds of miles around, maybe the only person in your city or even in your own state that does this, you learn that you can pretty much charge what you think and you decide your time is worth. See, when you have this mentality, another question comes up, how long is this going to take? Instead of worrying about how long it's going to take, just make very clear that it's going to be a flawless and visible repair, and there are other pieces ahead of yours because there are so few of these craftsmen like this available that it's going to take some time. My customers very clearly understand that, so that's never a problem. Then you get to thinking, well, what techniques do I think would work best on this particular restoration and repair? Well, once again, because you're calling the shots, and there are so few people in this business who do this, that you pretty much decide whatever works for you and whatever you prefer is the best answer. Because under that hard candy shell of a flawless and visible repair, whatever it takes, or whatever you prefer, is the right answer. So you develop this always do it yourself and always do it my way approach to everything. So honestly, I don't have much patience for being hemmed in by parameters, especially when those parameters benefit somebody else and not me. A billionaire once very wisely observed, when you let someone else set the rules, you lose. So, can you imagine my little foray peering into the typical world? There's that word again. The typical, traditional world of crowdfunding. You know, I've learned in life that you have to learn to read things like a lawyer. You see an offer or a deal, you have to breeze over the soft and fuzzy hype. That's because you have to scan the fine print for the things that they have to include legally, but they'd rather that you didn't see. So I decided, let me Google crowdfunding, but again, not in the typical way. Instead of just Googling the word crowdfunding, Google critics of crowdfunding and crowdfunding pros and cons. So here we go. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, all these crowdfunding offers. Now, when you do your homework, or what realtors call due diligence, you see, then you start to get the whole picture. Of course, the ad copy makes it seem so smooth and seamless. But then you get out the magnifying glass for the fine print. What did I start to see with these offers? Time limits, penalties for shortfalls, multiple fees, special Amazon payment accounts that my students would have to set up just to pay for this one thing, PayPal glitches. Really? Now I'm looking at this and I'm really starting to get frustrated. I'm saying to myself, all I want to do is get this course out to all the artists who have been asking for it. Then I'm like, but what choice do I have? That's when I had my eureka moment. I said to myself, reframe the question, you doof. You see, what choice do I have could be just a rhetorical question. So you're resigning yourself to your fate, or you think has to be your fate, and you don't have to. You see, you could ask it instead like it's a real question. What choice do I have? Then it hit me. Said to myself, hello, do it yourself, like you've always done with everything. You see, I recalled that quote once again. When you let someone else set the rules, remember, you lose. It's like a light went off in my head. Now it's so simple. When you eliminate the third party, the crowdfunding company, they don't make the rules. And there are no fees. None. See, now I was back in my always do-it-yourself mode, and I really started to get stoked and excited again. Thought to myself, well, you do it your way. How would you do it? Well, how about, I don't know, flexible time parameters? No penalties, no fees, no glitches with PayPal services, payment services, no special payment accounts that my students have to set up just to purchase this one thing. It's ridiculous. But you know, not to get off the subject, but there's a really radical life lesson here. This always do-it-yourself mode, this mentality, this mindset, do yourself a favor. Adopt it. It will serve you very well. You see, once you adopt it, everything changes. Don't like how something is typically done? Do it yourself, your way. Don't like how something is set up? Create your own. When you realize how much control you can have just by looking at everything through this new lens, life will seem to tilt in your favor. People will look at you differently. You say, you make the rules when you adopt this mentality, just like we're doing here with this. You know, once you demand this from life, and then you savor how life seems to tilt in your favor, you'll rarely accept anything less. And oh, by the way, if this mindset appeals to you, you're going to love this business. Anyway, that's a video for another day. It's back to the subject at hand, which is, how am I going to connect with all of you who have been asking me what I do here? Very simple. Let's set up our own crowdfunding and only do what benefits us. No hoops to jump through, no fees whatsoever, unless you decide to use PayPal. But again, see, that's your choice. We're doing this our way here. Now, typically, there's that word again, crowdfunders would steer you toward a short campaign. Well, why? Well, really, it's a psychological ploy to instill in you an artificial urgency to contribute, which makes sense if you're in the crowdfunding business. Now, if you're in that business, you want to run as many different campaigns as possible, finish them quickly, and then move on to the next batch. Now, typically, that's how it's done. But how could we do it better? You see, our way. What will work best for us? Well, how about, instead of a cutoff date with increased fees, which also creates a lost opportunity if anybody wants to get on board too late, instead of a deadline, how about, a blast-off date? Well, what would that be? This would be where, as soon as we hit the minimum amount to start, $10,000, just start building the online course. You see, doing it that way, we don't have to, number one, wait for some structured time frame set in stone by somebody else for their own reasons, or number two, wait for every last contributor to weigh in. Did you notice both of those involved waiting? If you have enough to start, what are you waiting for? You see, this could shave weeks off the wait time in getting this course out to you. And the beautiful part, anyone else can sign on afterward anyway and get the pre-funding discount. You see, doing it ourselves keeps it flexible. It accommodates us instead of restricting us. Now, doing this ourselves also avoids this do-or-die deadline mentality that's built into these typical crowdfunding campaigns. Now, typically, if you come up short by the deadline, boom, game over, you lose. You know, one even charges 9% on the money if you fall short of your projected goal. So, what would be the easiest way to do this? with no fees and no unnecessary restrictions? Well, let's start out with the least amount of parameters and be as flexible as we want to be. First, we'll start out with a 2-week pre-launch to get the word out. Now, some of you have already contacted me and indicated you want to sign up for the course. I'll be contacting you through social media. Then we launch. Now remember, the first 20 who pay for their or prepay for their course will get 50% off the course itself. Anyone else in the first week will save $600 off the course. Now, anyone else who purchases the course during the crowdfunding campaign will also save $500. Here's where the real advantages of doing it ourselves and doing it this way comes in. As soon as the minimum amount needed to start is reached, $10,000, production can start immediately. There's no unnecessary waiting. Now think of this. We talked about the first 20 getting the 50% off. But as little as the first 10 who sign up or prepay for the course, then we can start creating the course itself. And the rest of the campaign can run at the same time. Do you realize what a huge advantage this is in doing this ourselves? Can you start to see the advantages here? You know, my first video, I made reference to using share tools from Indiegogo, or Indigo as I think I called it in the video. That was my faux pas. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do this ourselves and do it our way. So to use a sailing term or a nautical term, we're going to tack in a completely different direction. So be thinking of how you could be one of those first 20 to sign up and save $1,000 on this course. Watch my website and Facebook for more upcoming videos and information. You know, almost 20 years ago, my somewhat quirky sense of curiosity helped me to literally fall backwards into this business. And boy, what an opportunity it was for me. I feel so fortunate to have discovered this, even though it was accidentally. But you know what made it successful? I immediately saw it for what it was. And I immersed myself in it right away. And you know, because of that, I've met some really fascinating, often very famous, and very wealthy people. It's been a real experience being in this business for this long. You know, as artists, you already march to a different drummer. I'm sure your family and your friends recognize that, and I'm sure you're proud of that. So what I'm asking you to do here now is wander off the beaten path a little bit more here with this. And I'll pull back the curtain and I'll show you all the secrets.